Hello everyone, and welcome to Season 7, Episode 24 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in CHIKARA history with match number 27 on our list, which is the CHIKARA Grand Championship match between the champion Eddie Kingston and the challenger Jigsaw from the CHIKARA Aniversario, the Og and I event held on May the 20th of 2012. I feel like this match is a little bit of a hidden gem. Eddie Kingston's run as the CHIKARA Grand Champion is full of so many classic matches. I talked a little bit about it when discussing his defense against Sarah Del Rey, but this match is arguably even better than that one, hence its positioning on the list, and I feel like it's one that maybe isn't super well remembered, and that's strange to me in a way, because Kingston and Jigsaw have always kind of been tied together a little bit, especially in, I'll say the like 2008 to 2012-ish kind of era of CHIKARA, where CHIKARA was, really starting to gain momentum and really starting to be a little bit mainstream and really kind of like exploding into some of the other bigger independent feds at that time, specifically Ring of Honor and Dragon Gate USA. And it was, Eddie Kingston, I think we can all agree on, especially, seeing his AEW work, really one of the best all around, for your money, independent professional wrestlers of all time. Just absolutely incredible. Can do it all. Can, wrestle that strong style, wrestle the crazy heated brawls, talk on the microphone better than anyone, get you to want to invest and spend your money in the product. So it would have made sense that he would have been, in all of those big independent promotions, and just for whatever reason, he never really got his fair due, I feel. And yes, he got, appearances in Ring of Honor, and yes, he got appearances in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and yes, he got appearances in Dragon Gate USA, but it never really clicked for him outside of CHIKARA, I feel, until, he eventually kind of got that out of nowhere, at least to me, AEW run, that he's really been able to show everybody what we've known for, the better part of 20 years, that he is as incredible as he is. But he would get those, small kind of looks and opportunities, and it would always seem like, for whatever reason, Jigsaw would be his opponent. I remember they did a dark match on a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, I think in either Philly or New York City, but it was Kingston and Jigsaw, and it wasn't great. And they did a dark match on a Dragon Gate USA pay-per-view, and it was Kingston and Jigsaw, and it wasn't great. For two guys that came up through the CHIKARA system, were part of that Gen 2, that second class of the CHIKARA Wrestle Factory together, that were kind of joined at the hip and would go all of the same places and get a lot of the same opportunities. To me, they never really had that classic great match against each other until this one. And that, to me, is what made this match even better. These guys are so close. They are, friends. They might as well be family. Kingston talks about that in his pre-match promo, that, they know each other's moms and they go to each other's houses for dinner and they've rode the roads together, and they are just like brothers, but, on this night, it's title over everything. And, they also talk about, Eddie Kingston dedicates his run as CHIKARA Grand Champion to his fallen friend, sweet and sour Larry Sweeney, who Jigsaw, was close to as well. So you have that whole kind of Sweeney story, embedded in all of Kingston's title defenses, but it means so much more when he's defending against a guy that knew Larry Sweeney just as well, like Jigsaw did. But what I love about this match is, one, the escalation of violence, and two, that these two guys that, like I said, are friends, they are, might as well be family. Like I said, they put that title over everything, and that's established pretty much right away. Eddie Kingston, throughout his title run, had this story of this bad knee, and it's kind of tied into all of his title defenses. I mentioned it in the video of his defense against Del Rey. But Jigsaw goes to that knee very, very early on in this match, and I loved that, where it just right away established, we're throwing our friendship out the window because I want what you have. I want to be the grand champion of CHIKARA. And that puts so much value on the title. And that's what I love to see. There's so many title belts in wrestling that kind of feel like they're just props, that they're meaningless. But, you know, putting that value on the title and making it something that you covet and you will give up everything to either win or to hold on to, that's the type of professional wrestling that I love. Jigsaw is so great in this match. He's talking all sorts of trash, but he makes this critical mistake where he had been using a super brain buster, like an avalanche brain buster off the buckles to put away lots of opponents. It was kind of like his big finish. And he goes for it really, really early in this match, too early. And he makes that pivotal mistake where Kingston gives him like this lariat kind of like off the second rope, but onto the ring apron, and Jigsaw takes like a big neck bump on the apron, and then Kingston wipes him out with a tope, and that allows him to start working over the neck. And this match, it just really starts to get chippy because there'd be like all of these chops and slaps and headbutts and things thrown in between, you know, the other work and the other moves that they're doing. And again, it just adds to like, you know, this kind of story that they're telling where it's almost like these fight between these two brothers, because that's how you'd fight with your brother. You would take these little digs and you would take these little cheap shots, not because you hate the man, but because, you know, when you have a brother or you have somebody that you're close to like that, you know, you build up all of these like resentments and these little like animosities that you have, and you know, eventually they start to come out, and generally they come out in a physical way, and that's exactly what happens in this match. Jigsaw turns the tides though. He gets a big baseball slide that sends Kingston over the rail into the crowd. He hits a big flip dive, you know, RVD style into the crowd. They do this great brawl through the crowd, and that's the other thing that I've you know, haven't mentioned at this point. This match is held in New York City, where both of these guys are from. So not only are they fighting, you know, basically brother versus brother, they're doing it in their home. They have friends and family in the crowd, and it makes this crowd brawl even better, where they are sincerely fighting amongst their own people. And I loved it. It's not something you see a lot in CHIKARA. And again, it really added to this scrap of a match between these two guys. The last chunk of this match is really them just dropping bombs on each other. All of their big moves, nothing works, nothing puts each other away. Kingston gets a backdrop driver and the American D, which was his finisher at the time. That only gets him 2. Jig gets, you know, a big kick combo and a big double stomp off the top, which he's used to win many matches. That only gets him 2. Kingston gets a backdrop driver on the top turnbuckle and another American D for 2. Jigsaw ends up getting this super brain buster out of the corner, and that only gets him 2. You know, and it builds into this great, you know, climax of both of these guys exhausted and worn, you know, on their knees, trading slaps back and forth. One thing that I will mention that, you know, I've picked up a bit more on this CHIKARA rewatch for this project, and I almost feel a little guilty saying this because I love this person, but Bryce Remsburg, you know, one of the best officials of his era. I'm so happy that he is where he is in such a prominent role in AEW. And I love Bryce. I think he's an amazing referee. But there are, you know, mannerisms that he would do that watching through these matches, you know, I kind of find myself focusing a little bit more on him than I am on the action. And when these guys are trading slaps on their knees in this match, and it's this great moment, it's supposed to have, you know, all of this juice behind it. Like, I couldn't help but like watching Bryce, and like he's standing there like, and like selling the punches that these guys are hitting on each other. And like, I don't know, like I said, I feel a little weird mentioning it, but it kind of like almost added this like silliness to the match a little bit, like at that point, kind of took me out of it a little bit. So and like I said, since, you know, watching this match, there's some other matches I've watched too where I'm kind of picking up a little bit more on like these mannerisms from Bryce, and it just kind of becomes like a little showy. Like, I remember, you know, in the early 2000 indies, there was Ref Hansen, and he had like a gimmick. He was the whole reffing show, and again, you know, we would kind of try to make the matches like almost about him, and I don't think Bryce was doing that. I think he was trying to like add on to the match, but again, it felt a little phony and forced, and kind of, you know, detracted from, you know, the violence that these two men were perpetrating on each other in it. And I made a note of it on my notes page, so I felt obligated to mention it. I love you, Bryce Remsburg, but again, you know, some hammy stuff there back in the early 2010s, I would say, in CHIKARA. They build to this great finish, though, where Jigsaw, the super brainbuster didn't work. He needs to go for the Jig and Tonic, but Kingston is really heavy and also kind of out on his feet, and Jig just can't get him up for it. Kingston goes for a back fist to the future. Jig ducks it, hits a schoolboy, which was like a really hot 2 count at the end of the match that, really seemed like it could have been the legitimate finish. But once Kingston kicks out, he ends up just nailing him with a really quick spinning back fist to the future. Hits him with another one, and then finally a third. And I love the third one because Jigsaw was like out on his butt, and Kingston basically falls and comes down with it, like almost kind of like a Will Ospreay kind of, hidden blade style thing. And basically just falls on Jigsaw for the 3 count. It was such a great finish, a great little cherry on top of, this brutal war that these two guys had with each other. I love this match. Like I said, it feels like everything that a heavyweight title fight should be. Great story, great action, great crowd. Love Kingston's title reign. And again, just, watching these two guys for so long and seeing, all of these matches between them that I thought would be like these great big moments for them where the world would finally see how great they were, and just them never really kind of amounting to much or being, the matches that these two guys were capable of, them finally being put in a prominent enough position where they could deliver the match I always knew they could, makes it even sweeter. You can watch this match, of course, on independentwrestling.tv. Subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you never miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again next time as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50.